Good morning, everybody. This is a live extreme weather briefing as we are talking about an ice storm this time across coastal Carolina. The ice storm warning is in purple. That extends from the Myrtle Beach area through Wilmington up through New Bern as well. And then you have the winter storm warning that's in pink. And that includes areas almost up to Raleigh, a little bit to the east of the Raleigh area through the North Carolina Outer Banks. This is going to be a coastal storm that isn't going to be amplifying and then swinging up the coast as we anticipated a couple of days ago, but instead that clipper that's dropping out at a northwest flow is going to leave this southern stream system behind just a little bit, and then it's going to intensify a little bit off the Carolinas coast, and that's going to be enough to include a bit of warm advection, ramping up that warm advection. There you can see the ice accumulation, freezing rain accumulation, and look at that, the northeastern corner of South Carolina, including the Myrtle Beach area, through Wrightsville Beach, through Wilmington, those areas along coastal Carolina. Looks like that's going to get the greatest freezing rain accumulation, and it could even be greater than a half an inch in some of those spots in coastal Carolina. Here is that storm system that's going to be moving through. You can see the precipitation is going to begin tomorrow morning as a bit of a glaze, and then it's going to increase as we go through the day, peaking in the afternoon and the evening time frame across the eastern Carolinas. And that winter weather advisory extends all the way back into the Columbia area and central South Carolina and across portions of the Carolina Piedmont as well. But you can see that storm just shimmies on out to sea. And the reason that this wasn't a much bigger situation is because that clipper that is diving south out of central Canada doesn't quite phase with the southern stream system, drags it behind a little bit. There you can see it lagging back behind instead of becoming this amplified tandem trough ejection that allows a coastal storm to whip up the east coast right along the western gradient of that Gulf Stream. In this case, your parent trough surges out across the mid-Atlantic and then leaves this system behind. And even though we do have this ridge trough pattern across North America with that positive P&A, we're just not getting that semi-permanent anticyclone over the Greenland area that would really shift that NAO strongly to a negative direction and lead to more of a log jam across the North Atlantic. Then you get a much more buckled flow here. But in my opinion, I think this positive P&A precedes everything. And then if you get a monster coastal storm that lifts up through the North Atlantic, that could be enough to trigger a semi-permanent anticyclone or a blocking ridge over Greenland. But you can see this system. This is the NAM model, by the way. The new 12Z NAM, and look at this closed cutoff low basically just spiraling down there over the southwestern U.S. You have to wonder if one of these higher amplitude clippers is going to be able to dig that thing out of the desert southwest and lead to a tandem trough ejection that could contribute to a bigger coastal system toward the end of January, maybe January 28, 29 time period. But it just leaves this little Vort Max back behind it, and that's going to be enough, though, to lead to a pretty substantial icing event across the eastern Carolinas. This is the 12Z NAM here. The NAM model has trended further and further southeast, but it looks like it's finally going to settle in now with this solution, with that ice storm happening along the eastern Carolinas. So let's just confirm the timing. And we do have this little system here, little bird fart of a system that drops some snowfall across the mid-Atlantic, the mountains of the mid-Atlantic, as well as northern, central, and northern New Jersey, even through New York City, southern New England got on the action with this little bird fart of a system that might have even led to a tandem ejection of this trough, but it's not quite high enough amplitude to quite pick it up. And so you are left with this weaker southern stream system that does try to reinvigorate a bit just off the Carolina coastline, and that is enough to trigger that ice storm. So that's that southern stream low pressure that we're talking about. It's over the Pensacola area as of this morning, and we do have quite a bit of rain as well here across upstate South Carolina. We do this single image so that I could step forward just every 3 hours. So this is at 18Z, the middle of the day today. You can see that low down into the northern Gulf of Mexico. A little bit of an egg-shaped, very weak surface pressure perturbation. And it's not even a strong enough wave to really trigger that large-scale warm advection precipitation. This storm system, all the precipitation here is going to be dominated by warm advection processes. So that precipitation is going to be generated at the lower levels of the atmosphere, likely in the vicinity of that warm nose as well. So this is on Thursday evening. Get that little system there heading out to sea, little coastal system. Thursday night, actually this is your main wave that's going to be triggering that ice storm, and it is going to develop later on Friday. This is 15Z Friday, and we do get some cold air in the wake of this little system that we're dealing with today. You can see this 1040 high over eastern Canada and the Northeast. That's going to help to solidify this dry, cool air mass to the east of the Appalachians. It's actually pretty moist right now, but it is setting the stage for that ice storm to happen Friday. It looks like Friday night, late afternoon, is when that heavier freezing rain begins. Coastal South Carolina as well as coastal North Carolina. Little band of snow tries to develop as well through Raleigh into southeastern Virginia, including Virginia Beach down into the southern Delmarva Peninsula. And the precipitation peaks at about 0Z, peaking 0 to 3Z tomorrow evening. Into the late evening across eastern Carolina. The precipitation begins to subside tomorrow late evening across coastal South Carolina, but continues all the way through midnight. You can see this little reinvigoration of this surface low. Not very much, but enough to generate some warm advection precipitation across coastal North Carolina, and even enough to have a little bit of a band of snow just to the northwest of that. This is at midnight tomorrow night. This is at about 3 in the morning. That icing is still continuing across coastal Carolina. Just enough warm advection precipitation. And this high across the Northeast was so strong that it just shimmied this coastal storm right out to sea. So it's not going to be going up the East Coast at all. Unfortunately, the snow lovers there across southern New England are not going to get in on the action on this one. And then by tomorrow, by Saturday morning, that precipitation is gone across eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia. But that's the big story, is the icing. And the timing of that event, it's definitely going to be tomorrow evening. It's going to be a relatively short duration, but it doesn't take very much ice to cause major problems out here. So let's take a look at the ice accumulation from our convective allowing model, the 3-kilometer NAM. And wow, look at some of that icing. Northeastern South Carolina, eastern Carolina. Looks to be centered right over the Wilmington area. Possibly greater than a ½ inch of ice, it's indicating here. It's definitely going to be overdoing that freezing rain accumulation. We're probably going to be a little bit closer to a ¼ inch, maybe up to 1/3 inch near Cape Fear. Looks like that's that maximum in ice up through the New Bern area. Southern portion of the North Carolina Outer Banks are also going to get in on that higher precipitation. But notice how little the precipitation is across central South Carolina and the North Carolina Piedmont, but it still does not take much, just a little bit of a glaze to lead to major travel disruptions across the eastern Piedmont. We can also look at some of these snow accumulations. Maybe 2 to 4 inch type of a snow here, northeastern South Carolina. It's probably going to be just to the east of Raleigh. Southeastern corner of Virginia looks to be that snow max. It's not a good idea to ever use this convective allowing model to determine snow, but it looks like some really good agreement amongst the models. This is the 12Z GFS that's coming in, showing that band of snow, maybe from the Florence area of South Carolina. A nice stripe of snow, 1 to 3 inches, maybe a little bit greater than that as you get closer to the coastline. And that's why you have that winter storm warning across the North Carolina Outer Banks. Might even get in on the action a little bit further south, and it's going to be pure icing across the northeastern coastal South Carolina into the Cape Fear area. This is where the freezing rain max is going to be. The GFS showing closer to a 1/4 inch, 1/4 to 1/3 inch across southeastern North Carolina and across coastal South Carolina. So this is going to be a very impactful event that's going to develop tomorrow afternoon, peak tomorrow evening. And then it's going to move out by Saturday morning, but it's going to leave just an ice skating rink in its wake across the area. Eastern South Carolina, southeastern North Carolina. Definitely a very impactful ice storm is on the way for this region. There are winter storm warnings right now, too, across South Texas. So let's shift gears and take a look at South Texas, Texas Hill Country. Let's start off with a surface map. There you can see that Arctic air surging off to the south. There's that freezing line just starting to arrive in the Austin area. Austin right now, according to these real surface obs, you're at 34 degrees. But this is what's triggering that winter storm warning. This Arctic front that is sagging off to the south. It's a very shallow Arctic front, only about a kilometer deep, only about a kilometer above the ground. Does that sub-freezing air extend? And then you're getting a bit of some overrunning precipitation from our wave that's going to lead to the ice storm across eastern North Carolina into far northeastern South Carolina. Not seeing much in the way of precipitation yet, just some light regular rain down there in South Texas, but the precipitation is expected to ramp up as we go through the day. That Arctic front is going to sag down to the south and stall out in South Texas. Let's take a look at the new 3-kilometer NAM down into South Texas and see what this precipitation is going to do. There's your boundary sagging to the south. Go through the late afternoon and we start to get some precipitation that develops across South Texas. Also a little bit of mixed precipitation coming out of the Texas Hill Country by late this afternoon. Overnight tonight, you start to get these little pockets of ice and freezing rain across South Texas. This is at 2Z, so this is about 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. A little bit of some icing possible with that band that's coming out of the Texas Hill Country as these sub-freezing temperatures are sagging down to the south. This is tonight at about 4Z. Looks like we start to get below freezing. Across South Texas, just in time for that warm advection precipitation to develop. Doesn't take very much warm advection to cause freezing mist, freezing drizzle. So this is at 7Z in the very early morning hours, Friday morning. Quite a bit more precipitation, and on the northern edge of this precipitation is where you have to watch out for the potential of icing. Oh, there it is. Look at that at 10Z. Definitely starting to get that band of freezing rain, even down near San Antone and a little south of San Antone. All the way down to near the Rio Grande could get in on that freezing precipitation. This is at about 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. Central Standard Time, getting that icing. Even the potential for icing along the coastline. The marshes even of Louisiana might even start to get in on that icing. More than likely just a cold rain. But this is that wave that's going to move along the northern Gulf of Mexico and then is going to be responsible for the ice storm across eastern North Carolina, northeastern South Carolina. So there is some of that frozen precipitation. It looks like most of it is going to be to the south of the Austin area. Doesn't take much to cause big problems, and then that precipitation moves out, moves off to the east, and then you get the heating of the day during the day on Friday through Friday afternoon. Hopefully we'll warm up those bridges and those overpasses as well that could be iced over. Three-kilometer NAM accumulated ice, just a little swath of ice, deep South Texas, even northwest of the Victoria, Texas area. South of Austin, though, notice that. But you have to remember it only takes a glaze to cause big problems. And that Arctic front continues to sag south. This is the regular NAM showing some pretty substantial freezing rain accumulation across deep South Texas. Just north of the Brownsville area. There's the new GFS model showing you that freezing rain accumulation. And that Arctic front surging south, it's about to invade. Those sub-freezing temperatures are about to invade the Austin area as well, and that front's just going to continue sagging south, and you get a little bit of warm advection over top of that shallow Arctic air mass, and that's going to be the result, is that freezing rain. So thank you everybody for tuning in to my weather reports. Ice storm warning across eastern North Carolina, far northeastern South Carolina should probably be included in that ice storm warning, and a winter storm watch extends even further south, all the way down to the Charleston area, I believe. Yes, almost to the Charleston area. Coastal South Carolina, the entire coastline of South Carolina is under those winter weather alerts. So I'm going to be heading to the coastline to cover this ice storm. I'm going to be covering it for AccuWeather, and then I'm going to be doing my presentation for ChaserCon virtually tomorrow, and that is going to be at 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern Time. I really wanted to be there in person for this event, but my concerns for the Omicron virus are just a little bit too much, only for my mom here in South Carolina, because I have to return back to South Carolina after ChaserCon and before the next event that's going to be in Dallas on February 8th as well. And just want to, if I have the option of doing a virtual talk, I'm just really thankful to have the option of talking about storm chasing science, about our gravitron sensors, about launching rockets into tornadoes. And we're also going to schedule some one-on-one time with some of the younger kids that are going to be at the National Storm Chaser Summit as well. So that's also going to be fun. But I'm just very thankful to have the opportunity to be able to do a virtual talk, and instead of flying in for a 1-hour talk, flying back out, and then potentially I put my mom at risk here a little bit. But I think we're almost at the end of this pandemic. So we're almost there, and then we'll all be in person for all of these conferences. But this is the story across deep South Texas. Winter storm warning is down there as well. There's your winter storm warning. 9 p.m. Thursday until noon Friday. And it does include Corpus, Rockport, Port Lavaca, I-35 corridor. Laredo is under a winter storm warning, and it's because of that freezing rain and ice down there, mixed precipitation, deep South Texas, and it's that same wave that is going to lead to a coastal storm. Well, not a coastal storm, but just a little bit of a reinvigoration of that surface perturbation over the Gulf Stream off the Carolinas to reinvigorate that warm advection precipitation, and it might be able to squeeze out a quarter to a third of an inch of ice across southeastern North Carolina into far northeastern South Carolina. And it looks like that icing could even extend all the way down to near the Charleston area. This is deep South Texas, though, Corpus Christi, Rockport. It's going to be tonight through tomorrow morning. And that precipitation begins at a very bad time relative to the diurnal cycle, too. It's going to be coming in during the heating minimum at night, late night tonight as well. That precipitation is going to continue through the morning hours tomorrow. If this precipitation were arriving during the daylight hours, then it's very likely that that diabatic heating of the surface would increase those surface temperatures just above freezing, and you wouldn't have as substantial of an event. But because this is arriving during the overnight hours, the chances of those below freezing temperatures are even greater across deep South Texas. Similar to tomorrow, late afternoon and tomorrow night, also happening during that heating minimum across coastal South Carolina and coastal North Carolina, could also increase those freezing rain accumulations. So thank you everybody for tuning in to this weather report. I'm going to be covering this live tomorrow evening through Saturday morning. Look at that ice accumulation on the NAM. The morning GFS is coming in with a little bit less, but still a quarter of an inch to a third of an inch of that ice accumulation. And it only takes a glaze of ice to cause major travel disruptions, major problems. So certainly stay indoors, stay off the road, stay off those bridges and overpasses are certainly going to be worse. Could also be some power outages across coastal North Carolina and coastal South Carolina. So thank you everybody for tuning into my weather report. Never stop chasing.